My name's Marcus. I'm 33 years old, run my own consulting firm, and up until 2 weeks ago, I still held on to some naive hope that my family actually cared about me the way I cared about them. Growing up, I was the quiet one. Not moody, just observant. While my cousins were sneaking beers and blasting music in the basement, I was upstairs helping Grandma with the dishes or fixing Uncle Ray's ancient laptop so he could finally retire in peace. I was the one who got overlooked at birthdays, forgotten at Christmas exchanges, and routinely teased for thinking I'm better than everyone just because I don't like tequila shots on a Wednesday. Truth is, I never thought I was better. I just knew I didn't belong. Not in the way they all seemed to belong with each other. When I started my business at 27, I didn't expect much support, and I didn't get any. My mom said, "Maybe it's time you stop playing pretend and just go back to school." My sister called it Marcus's little experiment. And yet when that experiment turned into a steady stream of contracts, a corporate credit line, and my own LLC, they were the first to ask, "So can you write off flights for family trips?" It started small. I'd cover the Airbnb, and they'd pay me back later. I'd book the excursions because I had the best travel points. I'd handle the hotel deposits because it's just easier with your card, Marcus. I didn't mind. I actually liked being useful, being needed. I thought maybe if I could just keep showing up, they'd start to see me as part of the family. Not just the one who organizes things, but the one who belongs. But this summer hit different. I'd heard whispers about a big trip around March. My mom dropped something about Italy or maybe Greece this year, but whenever I asked for details, she brushed me off. "Oh, we're just brainstorming for now." I figured I'd get looped in eventually. Spoiler, I didn't. It wasn't until July 3rd that I found out anything real. I just finished a long week of back-to-back meetings and was winding down with a movie when I got a notification, Instagram live. My Aunt Denise. That was weird. She's the kind of person who still calls Netflix the blue button on the remote. Out of sheer curiosity, I clicked. The screen opened to chaos, sunlight spilling over a pristine white balcony, kids running in swimsuits, champagne glasses clinking. Then Aunt Denise's voice cut through. "3 villas, baby. 19 people, and not a single complaint so far. You know why? Because we finally left the Buzzkill behind." Someone off-screen, my sister, cackled and said, "Hope he doesn't see this." LOL. I closed the app. At first, I sat in silence. No anger. No shock. Just that hollow thud in your chest when you realize a part of you still hoped they wouldn't actually do this. I didn't text. I didn't call. I just pulled out my laptop and opened the dashboard for my corporate travel account, the one they'd begged me to use just to hold the reservation back in February when my business was running a holiday promo with a luxury travel concierge. Sure enough, the bookings were there. 3 villas in Mykonos. 14 plane tickets through the business fare portal. Private excursions listed with my billing code attached. My name was nowhere on the guest list, but my company's name? Stamped on every single one. I stared at the totals. $4,200 for the villas. $3,800 for guided tours, sunset sails, and ATVs. $2,500 for flights. You'd think I'd be furious. But I wasn't. Not yet. Instead, I thought of the conversations. The ones where they swore I was overreacting when they forgot my birthday. The ones where my mom told me, "You're just so sensitive, Marcus." Where my sister once joked, "If you ever cut us off, we'd all drown." Guess it's good you like playing hero. I clicked Request Reversal on the villa charge first. It pinged instantly, merchant notified. Then I moved to the excursions, selecting unauthorized use, followed by a brief explanation. The concierge service emailed back within 20 minutes. "We understand." Processing the reversal immediately. Finally, the flights. Those took longer. But once I attached the message thread from February, where my mom said, "Just book it on your account and we'll settle later," the refund was pending. And that's when my phone rang. Blocked number. I knew who it was before I even picked up. "What did you do?" My mom shrieked. "They kicked us out. They said the payments failed, everything." I stayed calm. "Oh, that's weird. Maybe the Buzzkill took the trip instead." She gasped. "You saw that?" "Marcus, it was a joke." "No," I said, cutting her off. What's a joke is using my company to fund a vacation I wasn't invited to, and then forgetting I still have full control over those charges. She started to stammer something, but I was already pulling up the travel insurance section. Anyway, I continued. Gotta run. Step two's in progress. Then I blocked the number. See, there's something they forgot. Those concierge bookings? They also came with add-ons, private drivers, upgraded amenities, and a chef service, all of which required an active authorization token every 72 hours. I had one, and I just revoked it. I leaned back in my chair, the glow from the screen flickering across the room. For the first time in months, I felt weightless. Not because I got payback, but because I realized something more important. They'd always seen me as the wallet, the tool, the one they could quietly cut out of the guest list, as long as they didn't cut the line to the card. Well, they cut the wrong cord. And the best part? They still didn't know about the email I sent this morning, the one addressed to the villa owner, with the invoice attached, and the name of the attorney who'd be calling next. When I hung up, the silence in my apartment felt deeper than usual. Not heavy, just clean. No notifications. No group chat buzz. No, Marcus, can you just handle it? Demands. It was like I could finally hear my own thoughts again. And for the first time in years, I wasn't bracing for the next emotional punch. Instead, I opened a second browser tab and logged into the company insurance portal. I had filed the reversals. But now came the real cleanup, the part where I made sure nothing bounced back on me. Because technically, I had authorized the bookings under the condition I'd be part of the trip. I attached the original email thread, the booking confirmation they forwarded me, and a short note that read, "Reservation was made under the assumption I would be included. I was removed without consent, and services were used under false pretenses. Requesting formal investigation and cancellation across all active services." Within an hour, I received a response. "We're escalating this to the fraud protection team. Your business card has been temporarily frozen to ensure no additional charges occur." Perfect. By the time I checked my phone again, strictly out of curiosity, not emotional weakness, I had 26 missed calls. My mom, my sister, two of my cousins, even my dad, who usually avoids confrontation like it's contagious, had left a voicemail. "Marcus, this is ridiculous. You can't just strand your family overseas like this. We'll sort it out when we get back. Be an adult." I stared at the screen. Be an adult. Funny how that's always the demand when you finally stop letting people walk on you. For years, I'd been the mature one, the reasonable one, the one who always apologized first, even when I was the one bleeding. Not this time. Because this time, they weren't just ungrateful, they were entitled. They took from me, lied about it, laughed behind my back, and then expected me to keep paying for the privilege. That's not family. That's extortion with holiday flair. The next morning, I got an email from the villa owner. A polite message, though the tension between the lines practically dripped off the screen. "Hello, Mr. Carter. We regret the disturbance, but after receiving your cancellation and reviewing the authorization tokens, we've informed the guests that the remainder of their stay is invalidated. We're refunding the deposit per your corporate terms. As a courtesy, would you like us to redirect the funds to a personal account?" I replied, "Please forward to the primary business account and send a receipt for my legal records. Thank you for handling this professionally." They responded within minutes. "Understood. Also, we were notified that several of your guests have since vacated the property. We'll finalize the refund within 24 hours. Translation: they got kicked out. Bags packed. Kids crying. My sister's Instagram silence was confirmation enough. The usual flood of vacation selfies dried up like someone yanked the Wi-Fi mid-filter. By that evening, the second call came, not from family this time, but from the lawyer I'd looped in. Not my personal attorney, my business one. "Hey Marcus," she said. "I took a look at the villa agreement and the excursions clause. You were smart to pull everything when you did, but I noticed something interesting in the contract." "Yeah," I asked, sipping coffee. "You're listed as the responsible agent for all associated travel add-ons. That includes the chef service and private transport, right?" I said slowly. "They canceled those after they got kicked out, I assume." She chuckled. "They tried, but they missed a clause. You're entitled to reassign those services at your discretion if your party is unable to complete the trip." I raised an eyebrow. "Meaning?" "Meaning," she said, "you could technically send anyone else in your place and they'd still be covered. The bookings are good through the end of the week." I blinked. "So you're telling me I could just take the trip now?" "Technically," she said. "Yes." "Legally?" "Absolutely." I stared at my calendar. I had no meetings, no urgent deadlines. and 6 days of prepaid luxury accommodations sitting empty on the other side of the world. For a second, I laughed. It wasn't petty, it was perfect. But I didn't want to go alone. So I texted Evan, my friend from college, then Priya from accounting, then two of my favorite clients who'd always joked about how I never took real vacations. I wrote, free trip, Mykonos, villas, flights covered, you in? 5 responses came back within 10 minutes. Yes. Are you messing with me? Is this real? I'm packing now. I'll bring wine. Wait, are we actually stealing your family's vacation? I typed. No, I'm reclaiming it. 2 days later, we were boarding a plane. As I watched the city disappear beneath the clouds, I got one final text from my sister. You were such a child. You ruined everything. I didn't respond. I just turned on airplane mode. Because I wasn't flying toward guilt anymore. I was flying toward freedom. And the real revenge hadn't even started yet. We landed in Mykonos just after noon. The sun hit like a spotlight the second we stepped off the plane, dry, golden, unbothered. My friends were buzzing, half from the free trip and half from disbelief that this was real. Priya turned to me on the shuttle and whispered, I feel like we just crashed a family's dream vacation. I smiled. Not crashed, I said. Replaced. When we arrived at the villas, a staff member greeted us at the gate, clipboard in hand, polite smile on her face. She looked a little confused, probably expecting a caravan of loud American relatives with pool floats and matching tank tops. Instead, she got me in linen and 4 of the most normal, respectful people you could possibly drop into paradise. Welcome, Mr. Carter, she said. Everything is ready for your party. The previous guests left early. We did a deep clean, restocked the pantry, and the chef has your updated dietary preferences. She opened the gates. I'd seen the photos, but they didn't do it justice. There were 3 separate villas perched on a slope that overlooked the ocean, each with its own infinity pool, private lounge deck, and marble-tiled kitchen that made mine at home feel like a closet. It was surreal, not just because it was luxurious, but because it was mine now, not held together by strings of obligation, not weighed down by fake smiles and emotional landmines. Just peaceful. We spent the first evening eating on the terrace. Chef Demetrius, yes, that was really his name, prepared grilled sea bass, roasted eggplant, and lemon potatoes that made everyone groan like it was a Michelin-tasting menu. There was wine. There was laughter. And for the first time in forever, I felt like I belonged somewhere. After dinner, I walked down to the lower patio where the Wi-Fi was strongest and opened my phone. There were more missed calls, my mom, again, then Aunt Denise, then a new one, Uncle Jay. They were starting to panic. Not because of the trip. That was done. But because word had gotten out. Apparently, the travel concierge company had a policy that when a dispute was triggered on a business account, every related booking got flagged for audit. That included previous trips. Mexico last year. Aspen the year before. Every, we'll pay you back later, promise that they never kept was now under review. Even better? Since they used my corporate discount rates under false pretenses, those trips were now considered misrepresentation, grounds for retroactive billing, or, worse, legal action. All I'd done was send a polite email asking for clarification. The rest snowballed naturally. They thought I wouldn't pull the string. They forgot who tied the knot in the first place. That night, I posted one photo, just one. No caption, just me in a lounge chair, ocean behind me, holding a drink. The comments rolled in fast. Wait, where are you? This isn't Mykonos, is it? LOL, Marcus stole the trip. I'm crying. Why does this look like the villa we got kicked out of? Tell me this is real. Please. Then my favorite one, from someone I barely knew in high school. Looks like you finally ditched the parasites. I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I opened my banking app. The refunds had cleared. The chef and concierge services were already redirected to my personal card for the remainder of the week. My business account was clean. The audit logs were secured. Everything was by the book. Still, I had one more thing to do. Something I'd been thinking about for a while, before this whole mess even happened. I opened my legal folder and found the draft I'd been holding onto for months. It was an official severance agreement. Not for employees. For family. I started working on it 6 months ago after a particularly nasty Christmas dinner where my sister mocked my job. Again, and my dad said, let's be honest, if Marcus disappeared tomorrow, the only thing we'd lose is someone to pay the damn bills. I'd gone home that night and typed up a document. It listed names. It outlined every payment I'd made for them. It had a clear statement at the top. This letter serves as formal notification that Marcus Carter will no longer be financially supporting, subsidizing, or engaging in any obligations, monetary or emotional, with the following individuals. It was blunt, it was cold, and it was exactly what they needed to read. That night, sitting by the pool, I opened the draft, added the dates of the reverse charges, included a clean financial breakdown of the trip, and hit send to print. 3 hard copies, one for legal, one for records, and one to mail directly to my parents' address. But before I sent it, I added a final note. Family is earned, not inherited. Thanks for making that clear. I leaned back in the chair, listening to the sound of waves crashing faintly below. Tomorrow, we had a sunset yacht tour booked. But tonight was just for me. And they still had no idea what was waiting for them when they got home. Because step 2, that was just the beginning. The morning after I printed the letters, I took a walk by the shore. The air in Mykonos felt different, not just because I wasn't sitting in a conference room answering emails, but because for the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. My phone sat untouched in the villa, and with each step I took barefoot across the sand, I realized something I hadn't dared to believe before. I didn't know them anything anymore. I returned just before breakfast. Chef Demetrius had set out fresh fruit, warm bread, and strong coffee. Priya handed me a plate, joking, "So, is this the part where we find out your family's suing you for emotional damages?" Everyone laughed, but I just smiled. "No," I said. "This is the part where they learn what consequences feel like." The letters were sent by courier before noon. One copy to my parents' house, one to my sister, and the final one filed through my lawyer's office, just in case anyone got creative with threats later on. I'd also included a neat financial summary. Over the last 4 years, I'd spent more than $84,000 subsidizing family trips, groceries, repairs on their house, my sister's rent when she lost her job again, and my dad's truck when he couldn't qualify for the loan. There were no thank yous, no repayments, no effort. And now, no more chances. I spent the rest of the week exactly the way they wanted to spend theirs, except mine came with gratitude, peace, and friends who didn't make me feel like a walking bank account. We danced through the old town, took photos on the cliffs, and stayed out late watching stars from a rooftop bar. I hadn't laughed this much since college. I even caught myself wondering what would have happened if I'd cut them off sooner. But I wasn't bitter. Not anymore. Because what came next made everything worth it. A week after I got back, I stepped into my office and found my assistant holding a stack of envelopes and a half smirk. "Marcus," she said, "you've got some mail. Looks like someone's been busy." I flipped through the envelopes. 3 were from credit card companies, one from a family attorney in my parents' town, and the thickest one, from my sister, was unsealed, bent at the corners, and looked like it had been opened and resealed 5 times before it even reached me. I started with hers. Inside was a single note written in her messy, all-caps handwriting. "I hope you're happy. Mom's crying every day. Dad says you're dead to him. You think you're better than US. You're not. You're just cold." That was it. No apology. No accountability. Just rage dressed up like wounded pride. I placed the letter aside and opened the legal one next. It was from a local attorney representing my parents, but it wasn't a lawsuit. It was a desperate plea. Amicable resolution, they called it. They wanted to discuss what had happened, find common ground, and move forward as a family. It was laughable, because 2 days before that letter was postmarked, my sister had tagged a photo on Facebook with the caption, "Glad to be back in a country that isn't filled with snakes snaked." I hadn't replied. I didn't need to. The universe did it for me. See, one thing my parents never understood, when you misuse a corporate card for personal gain, you're not just being selfish. You're being stupid. Because businesses don't like when their financials start smelling like fraud, especially not when the IRS gets involved. It started with a simple audit flag, routine, they said. But when my accountant submitted the records, it all pointed one direction: unauthorized family use. And since everything had been refunded and documented clearly, my company was cleared within days. But my family? Not so lucky. Turns out, some of those transactions my mom insisted were just little favors weren't so little. Like the flight I booked for her work conference that turned out to be a weekend in Vegas with her sister. Or the repairman invoice I paid for my dad that matched up with a Craigslist ad for ATV rentals. The IRS flagged them all. And the best part? Since they were technically beneficiaries of the services paid through a business account, they became the target of the investigation, not me. Within weeks, I heard through the grapevine that they'd been slapped with back taxes and were now being asked to provide receipts for every expense they tried to write off on my generosity. Spoiler alert, they didn't have any. The phone calls started again. Blocked numbers. Unknown callers. Even a few from numbers I recognized. Friends of the family who tried to act like neutral peacekeepers. Marcus, come on. This is family. You can't destroy them over a trip. I always answered the same way. They destroyed themselves. I just stopped paying for it. My mom tried a different tactic. She emailed me directly. Not a call. Not even a voice message. Just one line. You were supposed to take care of us. And that was the moment I knew there would never be closure. Only distance. Because in her eyes, my success had always belonged to them. My effort, my time, my money, it was theirs by default. Never earned. Never respected. Just expected. I replied once. Just once. I did take care of you. For a long time. And you treated me like furniture. There when you needed it. Invisible when you didn't. I'm not your son when I pay. And the enemy when I stop. I'm just done. Then I closed the laptop. Weeks passed. Autumn rolled in. I spent my weekends hiking, trying new recipes, even traveling again. This time to Lisbon, then Tokyo. Alone sometimes. With friends other times. But always with intention. Always for me. Then one evening, I walked past a little bakery near my place and saw someone I hadn't seen in years, my cousin Leah. She'd been one of the only relatives who ever treated me like a person, not a piggy bank. We got coffee. Talked for hours. She said she heard everything. Said she wasn't surprised. They used to call you the family vault, she said quietly. Like it was a joke. I just nodded. At the end of the night, she said something I never expected to hear. You did the right thing. And maybe that's all I really needed. Not revenge. Not justice. Just someone who saw the whole story and didn't twist it. It's been 8 months now. I haven't spoken to my parents. My sister tried to message me once after Christmas. I didn't open it. I've built new boundaries, made new traditions, replaced noise with clarity, obligation with choice, guilt with peace. I don't look at their social media. Don't ask mutual friends for updates. Because there's nothing left to monitor. No more balances to manage. My account is closed. Not the one with the bank. The one with them. And for the first time in my life, I'm not funding anyone's illusion. I'm just living my own reality. And that's the best trip I've ever taken.